Hey there, we're so glad you're back for week 2 of Weekly Awareness on Choices. We hope you enjoy today as we talk about crossroads, friends, and examples of positive role models.
Okay, so here we are. This is week 2 of our weekly awareness, and we're talking about choices still. What a great example of a choice of being at an intersection and which way you're going to go. You're going to go left, you're going to go right. Am I going to make a good choice and have a good outcome, or am I going to have a bad one and have a bad outcome? What I can determine which way I go. It's up to me to have good information so I can make good choices and hopefully have continued good outcomes. If you look, I've got a compass on here. What do you think I mean by that? If my compass is targeting my destination where I want to go, and let's say it's straight north, and maybe it's Knoxville. So if I continue on this path and I reach my destination, I will hit Knoxville. Well, what happens if my compass is off by 1 degree? Just 1 degree. And I follow that path. Will I still hit my destination? No, I'm going to be in a completely different area. And I'm going to get there and go, how in the world did I get here when I intended to be here? Well, it's because your compass is off. Made a bad choice. And you continue down this bad choice, and that bad choice is a linear equation. So the further away from the beginning I get, the worse things are. Does that make sense? You're going to see compasses in a lot of these pictures, and I want you to think about what would happen to you if you got off by just 1 degree. That's a pretty insignificant number, but it can really add up very, very quickly. I want you to look at this, and I want you to look fast. All of these are articles that have happened in the last year. This is a state of our world right now. This is from 2019 and the very beginning of 2020. But I want you to see so much despair, so much anxiety, angst, depression, pain that's going on in our world. And you see an awful lot of these conversations are talking about using substances or treating with different types of drugs to fix these problems, when in reality, the problems are getting worse. Just this morning, I watched the news, and they said that overdoses in our country are up by 50% maybe. Crazy times. And it's a lot of despair going on. It's hard to understand what's true and what's not anymore. I want you to know that these pressures can be overcome. We just have to be solid in where we know we can get the truth. Who can we trust? Where can we go to get help? You're looking at an awful lot of examples of people going to the wrong sources. So that's prior to COVID-19. So what do you think has happened since COVID-19? Well, here's an example of the articles of this day of what's going on. Has the problem gotten worse or better? It's absolutely gotten worse. A lot of people are searching. A lot of people don't know where to go, and these problems are getting worse. So this series is about empowering you with information to understand that if I go to a substance to fix whatever problem, whatever's going on in here, I'm not fixing it, I'm making it worse. Remember last week when I talked about Adam Brown, and we talked about those things and how he had to dig deep to overcome? You're going to have to dig deep. It's not going to be easy, but it can be done. Look at this. This last article said that more people died in Tennessee from suicide than from COVID. That should shatter you to the core. Can we overcome that? Yes, we can. No matter what you're dealing with, no matter what's going on, you can overcome it. But you've got to know where to go to get help, and you've got to ask for that help. Don't internalize. Don't go to a substance, because I assure you a substance is not going to fix the problem. Heavy stuff right here today, isn't it, guys? I hope you learned something from this, and we'll dig deeper. Okay, guys, we're going to look at another example of someone who set goals, achieved those goals, someone who had laser focus someone who was not easily distracted. Kobe Bryant. There's not a person on this planet that would tell you that Kobe Bryant was easily distracted, because it just wasn't so. Look at his determination in these photos. Nothing was getting in the way of him. Look in this one picture, I think they've got 4 guys on him. Did it slow him down? No, it probably sped him up, if anything. He probably loved that adrenaline rush. What I'm trying to get at here is another example of someone saying, you know what? This is my goal, and whatever it takes to reach this goal is what I'm going to do. And that's what Kobe did. We just talked about the news in this country and how we have such depression and anxiety and angst and desperation in this country right now. Those people falling down this bad path, making bad choices, having bad consequences, are people who I suspect at some point had a goal, but they didn't know what to do with all of this other inside stuff that was going on, and so they went to a substance to try to give them relief, and what that substance did was it made the problem bigger. They got distracted. I can assure you, Kobe was not one of those guys who would get distracted by a substance. I can assure you that if Kobe felt something inside and he didn't know what to do, he would pour himself into dedicating back to the goal that he had, that he set off with that day. I can assure you of that. So what I want you to see here is what clear focus looks like. And where can it get you? It can get you as far as you want to go. If you look at this picture, I don't know where Kobe started. Let's say he started on a playground court like this one. Super, super humble place. Can you imagine being that person starting on a court as maybe as humble as this court I'm in right now? This is the old Mayfield School. Talk about a humble beginning. Maybe you start here and you determine that basketball is what you want to be. You want to be the best basketball player you can be. You've got to start somewhere. I want you to know this. There's going to be plenty of people who will tell you, no matter what your goal is, that you'll never achieve it. There'll be plenty of people who will say, you're playing in a gym in the middle of Cleveland, Tennessee. How could you ever make it to the NBA? That's a person who's probably not met their goals. That's a person who's probably been distracted. And I want you to quit hanging out with those guys. I want you to surround yourself with people making good choices who are empowering you to be the best person you can be. Because guys, I'm here to tell you, you can be anything you want, but you've got to dedicate. You can't get distracted. When it gets so tense and it looks like the world's falling apart around you, that's when you got to dig deep and focus that much more on where it is you want to be and what you want to do. Does that make sense, guys? And if you look at Kobe, he absolutely epitomizes focus, dedication, not being distracted. So guys, I want you to look at this quote from Kobe. In an interview, they asked him, is greatness born or is it built? And Kobe didn't even hesitate before he said, it's absolutely built. It's built on the sacrifices you make. It's built on the dedication you have to achieving whatever your goal is. And Kobe knew that better than a lot of people. Did you know that Kobe would get up and go to school, high school, at 4 or 5 in the morning? He wouldn't leave until 7 that night. When he was on the team, he would play bench warmers to 100, virtually every day. Every day he would shoot 1,000 shots a day to perfect his skill. That was in school. That was while he was still in high school. Talk about dedication. How easy is it to be distracted while you're in school? There are a lot of people going a lot of different ways, right? Which way did Kobe go? Kobe went down the path of being the best basketball player he could be because that was what his goal was. It's a very, very important fact. Another thing about Kobe, after he got into the NBA, before he would play a professional game, he would go to that stadium that morning and he would work out for 4 or 5 hours. And they said he had a systematic routine that he would go through. So many shots, so many maneuvers, do this thing from this place. And he would practice the day of the game prior to the game every single time. It's interesting when you listen to these articles and interviews with teammates of his, they would say that whenever they would come to the stadium, they would hear a ball bouncing and they would know Kobe was already there practicing. And watch these interviews of people who played against Kobe and they would say he was like a machine. It's like he had done that shot 1,000 times. It's because he had, on that very court, on that very day, preparing for that very game. What I want you to understand here is that if we fail to realize that greatness is built and not born, we take away all of the assets that Kobe had because he sacrificed his entire life to be the best player he could be. We take away all of his dedication, all of his sacrifices, if we say that greatness is actually born. So I want you to know this. No matter what your skill set is, no matter where you're trying to be, greatness is built, and it's built on your sacrifice and your dedication. So let's look at Kobe here. We saw him reach his goals of being the best basketball player he could be. We saw him set those goals in high school, and we saw him reach the NBA. And there's not a person on the planet that would argue with you if you said that Kobe is arguably the best, if not one of the best basketball players this world's ever known, yeah? So let's take it a step further. His dedication to reaching goals never stopped when he stopped in the NBA. It just started. If you look at these pictures, Kobe was giving back. Kobe was trying to empower other people to be the best people they could be. And he was doing that by leading by example. And what I mean by that is, it's interesting. He would get up early, like we talked about, while he was in the NBA, and come to the stadiums early and do all these workouts. For a brief moment after he stopped, after he retired, he quit working out. And then he got to thinking about the role model that he is for other people, specifically his family. And so he started getting up early again and working out. And his daughters saw that, and they started following their dad to the gym every morning before they would go to school and work out with Kobe, and they called it father-daughter time. And he thought that he needed to lead by example and show them what success looks like. It's the same thing he's doing when he's talking about all these other young people and helping them aspire to be the best that they could be. Giving back, he says, is what makes true greatness. Isn't that very humbling from a really great man who achieved an awful lot? What I'm talking about here is not being distracted, not giving up. What I'm also talking about here is when you make a good choice or a bad choice, it's seen by other people. And you may not realize it, but when you make that unfortunate bad choice, what message does that send someone else? And could that be the thing that gets them distracted enough that they end up not reaching their full potential? And when we looked at the headlines of today, we saw how bad, how catastrophic a bad choice these days can be. I want you guys to be the good people, the good role models, dedicated, focused to achieving your goals, just like Kobe did.
We're so glad y'all were here today. We hope this message taught you how to make good choices and how true friends and dedication can lead you down the right path.